New Orleans signed CJ Spiller for something other than sitting on the fucking bench.
31 other passes that should have been intercepted this year.
So that's why I have David Johnson on my board higher.
If you're doing a live draft, wait till you're drunk to draft this guy. We welcome you to the Fifth Down! What up, Fifth Downers? This is Johnny Slokes, and you're here at the Fifth Down, giving you that extra down you need to win it all. I'm here with my host, K-Mill. Introduce yourself.
What is up, guys? K-Mill here.
Yeah, we're real excited to be here today. We're going to do a fun little show. You want to go over that we're going to do, K-Mill?
Yeah, we're going to go over our very, very early season awards for next year. We're going to talk about the guys that are going to fuck your team over, the guys that are going to fucking propel your team to the championship, and the guys that are going to fucking light shit up.
Wreck shit.
Wreck shit, and basically be the equalizer. We're going to talk about these guys you're going to want to target on the waiver wires, the guys that'll, really set you aside from all the other teams in your league, and maybe guys you want to avoid with injury concerns.
All right, so before we jump into all that, we have been having a little kind of contest giveaway. We're giving away a draft board made by the Football Doctor, and the way we're doing it is you leave us a review on iTunes, and we pick out the winner. We narrowed it down to one person. This is a review by Corey. He's like, I love listening to these guys while I'm working. It makes the time fly by. I can get the information fixed at the same time. Keep up the good work. Well, Corey, just to let you know, you are the winner of our draft board, and we are going to try and get it to you before the season starts, hopefully. I'm going to have to rush that one.
Yeah, well, and you know what else, too? Well, we still got four weeks of preseason, so I think we'll have plenty of time to get Corey his board.
Yeah.
But also, Fifth Downers, one of many giveaways, so make sure you write us a review. You automatically enter yourself into a sweepstakes next time we do a giveaway.
Yeah, we're real easy to find on iTunes. I mean, we're the only fucking fantasy football podcast that's under society and culture. It is our football is our culture.
Football is the only thing in our life.
All right.
Actually.
So we're gonna jump into some news and notes. Justin Tucker is claiming that he can hit an 80-yard field goal.
84 yards.
84 yards.
I think that's completely bogus. I think maybe I can see 70 yards. I can't see 80 yards.
I could see it maybe in practice with no offensive line, no defensive line, just kicking the ball.
Well, Brandon McManus, Broncos kicker, he brought up the point that if you were, I guess he was saying that Justin Tucker, his trajectory is so low that
it'd get blocked.
Yeah, it would get blocked before. Yeah, he said he might have the distance on it, but there's no way it would actually get through the uprights.
And would you ever want to try an 80-yard field goal? That's ridiculous.
I don't think any coach on earth would be willing to take that much risk.
Thomas Rawls is activated off the PUP list, so that's good news for anyone who's looking to draft him.
Or has already drafted him.
Yeah.
He's one of the guys that I'm actually looking forward to seeing. Is he going to take a step forward, or did we just see it like a flash of brilliance that we're never going to see again? Because that does happen with players.
Or they also drafted a couple of rookie running backs, and I also heard that they're actually trusting Christine Michael more, too, so...
He kind of fell out of favor when he got released, but it sounds like Christine Michael could see an uptick in carries this year. That's another thing that might spell a little bit of hesitation with Thomas Rawls, but I think that also C.J. Prosise, who is also at this point injured, but I think that Christine Michael could potentially get a little uptick on work.
The whole Seattle offense is kind of like a question mark. Like, what is their identity? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're really hard to figure out because last year, we're like, what are we going to see? Now that Marshawn Lynch he's pretty much out all last year. Russell Wilson rose to the occasion. He started passing the ball more, and then Doug Baldwin had an explosion, an offensive explosion that could never be replicated ever. I don't think for the last 6 weeks of the season.
He is on an absolute fucking tear, dude.
Yeah, I whoever took a late round flyer on him was very, very lucky in fantasy drafts. But yeah, you're right, Johnny. It's a Seahawks team that we really don't know what their identity is anymore. They used to be a run-first team. Now, Russell Wilson being a successful quarterback that he is, we have no idea what their real identity is going to be this year.
All right. So, more training camp news. Corey Coleman has been catching everything. He's been absolutely just abusing that shitty defense that the Browns put on the field.
I mean, that's not much of a surprise because the Browns have always... They usually have a good defensive line, but the secondary has major holes in it. Also, I mean, if Terrell Pryor's catching touchdown passes, which he did...
75-yard touchdown, one of them was.
I know, yeah, it was ridiculous. And he's getting rave reviews from Hugh Jackson, who also was part of the team that picked him in the supplemental draft in Oakland. So you gotta know that he likes something with Terrell Pryor. He thinks there is something there. So that's something to keep your eye on.
And staying with the Browns... Hugh Jackson's also close to naming the starting quarterback. They said they're going to do that before the first preseason game. Right now, it looks like it's going to be RG3, though.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much a lock at this point.
They've been saying that he's been improving, so that's notable.
And think about the only guy that's really giving him a challenge. Josh McCown has been in trade rumors with the Cowboys, who lost their backup quarterback, Kellen Moore, to injury. He broke his leg. So...
I heard that Dak Prescott was getting second-team reps, too, so...
Yeah, but I don't think this Cowboys team fully trusts Prescott. I think that he's still really raw. He's got a lot of footwork issues to work out. They're not... He's like a Tim Tebow type project that they're hoping maybe...
Hopefully it pans out.
Yeah, hopefully it pans out. He's got a lot of what's the word here? I'm drawing a blank. Anyway,
Upside.
He's got a lot of potential, but he's still very raw. So they're looking at Josh McCown apparently. So the number 2 on the Cleveland roster might not even be there. So I think RG3, it's his job. It's his job to lose.
All right. Moving right along, the Miami Dolphins are looking to move Landry out of the punt return and kick return so he can focus more on offense. They brought in receiver Jakeem
Grant.
Yeah.
There's been some rave reviews for him too. I think Adam Gase is saying a lot of nice things about him. But I think it's not a huge hit to Jarvis Landry.
No, I think that's a great thing for Jarvis Landry. I think that will improve his offensive production.
It could be a blessing or a curse. I mean, obviously you're not going to get those in leagues that you do add kick returns, punt returns, So he's losing that, but I still think that it's going to be better for him in the long run because he's getting that uptick. Like he can only focus on one job.
He's got 100 catch potential in that offense. So
I definitely think so. If Adam Gase, the quarterback guru, can do something to Ryan Tannehill that hasn't been done yet, then I think the sky's the limit for that guy.
All right, so moving to Chicago, Jordan Howard has caught the eye of the running back coach. He's saying he looks very impressive with his short space quickness, so maybe he's starting to gain a little bit of steam.
I've actually heard, too, that Kadeem Carey is looking good, too. I've heard good things about Jordan Howard, but I've also heard some good things about Kadeem Carey, so I think that, Jeremy Langford better have a really good preseason, or else he might lose that job.
I think we're both in agreement that we think that the Chicago backfield is going to be a mess this year.
Yeah, they're somebody that if you're in a season-long league, you just want to kind of avoid that Chicago backfield, unless you want to take maybe a late-round flyer on, Jeremy Langford. But other than that, I would just kind of stay away.
All right, so it looks like Le'Veon Bell looks fully healed from his injured knee. He's been doing some jumps and some cuts. It's one of those guys that he really doesn't need a whole lot of speed because he has a lot of patience when he runs. So he's looking pretty good right now.
I've heard some really good things aside from the suspension out of Pittsburgh that Le'Veon Bell looks like his midseason form.
He said he doesn't even think about his knee. He's not worried about it. So
yeah, and he's I guess learned some new strategies to protect it. But all his coaches have said that he looks great. All the beat reporters that have been at Pittsburgh practice have said that wow, he looks like his 2014 form. And if he looks anything like that, defenses should be pretty scared because he was on an absolute tear that year.
All right. Some more news. You got Reggie Bush. He signed with the Bills. What do you think about that?
Not really too worried about it. I think that maybe this is just since Carlos Williams is suspended, it's just added depth into that Buffalo backfield.
I mean, it was a pretty decent contract. It was over $1 million for as a 1-year deal.
Yeah, you know what? Reggie Bush is a guy I like to write off nowadays. He's coming off of a somewhat major injury last year. I just don't know if I can trust him.
On to some crazier news, tight end Kellen Winslow Jr. might make a return to the NFL. He was working out with the Green Bay Packers.
I know, that guy's old as shit.
What does that say about the Green Bay Packers tight ends that are currently on the roster?
Well, I think that says, because this is a tight end group that has Richard Rodgers, he's been hit or miss, and then Jared Cook, who, I mean, has been up to this point a major disappointment from where he was.
He's
drafted.
an athletic freak with a lot of speed, but can never seem to hold on to the ball.
Yeah, he's got a lot of issues, and I don't know. Maybe that's a sign that the Packers are like, oh shit, maybe we shouldn't have signed Jared Cook. Maybe he is just a lost cause. I don't know. I think we might be reading too much into it, but we'll have to see how the season goes.
Justin Hunter might not make the 53-man roster for the Titans.
I was reading that as well. Doesn't really surprise me. This is a receiver group that's very deep. You have a guy that's still really raw in DGB, but has the sky potential.
This is a guy that was coming into the league. I thought he was going to be pretty good, and then he just didn't really land onto a very good spot.
Yeah,
things happen.
They spent a really high draft pick on him. I'm really surprised he ends up being a pretty big bust from where he was drafted.
All right, Latavius Murray's looking great, which a lot of times a lot of running backs do look great in training camp. So I'm not going to read too much into that, but I am a believer in Latavius Murray. I know they drafted DeAndre Washington, but I think that offensive line is going to be good enough to where he'll be still pretty productive this year.
Yeah, I'm hearing some good things about that offensive line out there. I think that Latavius Murray, to me, I had him on my fantasy team, one of my fantasy teams last year, and he was just Mr. Consistency. He wasn't a guy that would, totally turn heads every game, but he would consistently get you about 20 points in a PPR league every week.
He's not a guy that's going to win you a week by himself, obviously. He's a guy that he had plenty of volume. I think that's what helped you in your league is because we got points for every time they touched the ball. So
yeah, definitely, yeah, and he also was just last year he was consistent, and I think that's enough. If you can depend on a guy that gets you consistently 15 to 20 points a week, that's still pretty good.
Obviously, some big news is about Eric Ebron. At first, they were afraid, oh no, Ebron tore his Achilles, he's going to be out for the year. And now, from a Detroit Lions beat reporter, I was hearing that it's just a minor ankle injury.
Yeah, usually every time a team is worried that they worry about the worst, usually the worst has already happened. So it's very, it's weird to me because every time that they say the team fears such and such injury, it really is that injury. So it's weird to see that. I mean, I'm glad that the Lions really dodged the bullet.
This is the second time a major injury has happened, and it ends up being a minor injury. First it was Rashard Perriman might have tore his ACL, and then it's oh, well, not really.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening with those doctors nowadays, but I guess they're not getting.
Because all these doctors, they're going through medical school, and then they just cheat off the smart guy.
I guess so. Yeah.
All right. Oh, Matt Forte, surprisingly, is already having some hammy issues. Did you hear about that? That's a little bit older news.
Yeah, I did hear about that. I'm not reading too much into that. I think that these guys, they're trying to push themselves for roster spots. Obviously, Forte doesn't really have to worry about that, but I think that he might have just went put it a little the wrong way, and he's just. I wouldn't read too much into it, though. I think he's going to be fine for a season start.
All right. So you ready to just jump right into this shit? Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. So, just warn you guys, our awards, we name them differently than conventionally, for most of them at least. Our MVP award, we call it the Golden Goat Award. Who did you pick to win the MVP this year, Camus?
Well, I think that's going to be Andrew Luck.
You got Andrew Luck, so he's really, you think he's going to come back on a tear, huh?
I think so. I think that last year was a disappointment. He had his sophomore slump. It was a little late, but it did happen. He had a horrible last year. Well, not horrible. He was just really injury filled. I think he's going to come back this year, and I think he's going to be on an absolute tear. I think my other pick for this would have been Aaron Rodgers, but I think that Andrew Luck's just going to have a great season this year.
Well, my pick for this award is Aaron Rodgers. I think he's going to be the MVP this year. I think that he is going to come back from what was somewhat of a lackluster year to his standards, but last year was his first year in the NFL where he started all 16 games and did not finish as a top 2 quarterback, and I think that this year he's getting Jordan Nelson back. He's going to return in a big way, especially with that schedule. The NFC North has a pretty good schedule this year. I think that he's going to take full advantage of his schedule, and he's really going to shine this year.
You know what? I can't really argue Aaron Rodgers with you because that's another good pick, but I will say this about it, though. The NFC North, yeah, pretty decent schedule, but there are a lot of good defenses in that division, though. The Lions are a much improved defense. The Bears have a pretty improved defense, and the Vikings have an awesome defense. So, maybe not, but, I think both of these guys are great quarterbacks, and they're going to really fight for that MVP this year.
Would you say that the NFC North is the best division in the NFC, or do you think the West is still the best?
I still think the NFC West is still the best.
I mean, I obviously I think that the NFC North is better than the East. I think that they're better than the South. I think it'll be pretty competitive, but I think it's really like a 2-man show. But I think it's a division that Green Bay is going to ultimately win.
I think they will too, but I do think that it's going to be heavily contested because
you got the Vikings. They got the Vikings over there. Got a pretty good defense.
Yeah, the Vikings have a pretty good defense. Their offense, with AP being the centerpiece, has been
it's been working
surprisingly good. It works.
Yeah.
For some reason, even though Teddy Bridgewater can't throw downfield.
Although I was hearing that he was actually looking pretty good throwing some of these deeper passes so far in training camp, but that still remains to be seen when it comes to a real game time play.
Yeah, but I do think that the North, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen with the Lions offense this year. I think they might take a big step forward with Jim Bob Cooter as the OC. But I still think that the NFC West is the cream of the crop out there. No doubt about that.
All right, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe our top quarterbacks that we picked are also what we picked for the MVP, because I have Aaron Rodgers as the top quarterback, and I believe you picked Luck.
I did pick Luck.
Look, so what we did here for these awards is we picked the guy that we think's going to win it, and then we tried to pick like a dark horse as well. It's like, obviously I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be number 1, but another guy that I think is a little bit further off the radar that can finish close to number 1 is Eli Manning.
And that's a great choice because I think that he's got Sterling Shepard now. He's got more weapons. I don't think Paul Perkins is going to be a big factor this year, but I do like what I'm seeing, and I think that Eli Manning is going to have a great season this year too. And
their offense could be even better if, say, Victor Cruz can return to even like 75% of his old self.
Yeah, definitely. That was another thing too. He's kind of the guy that I'm looking at, what are we going to see? Because this is Victor Cruz's last chance this year. So we'll see. Yeah, if he can return to like you were saying, about 70% of his old form, he's still going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Did you have a dark horse at quarterback?
I do, and he's in a similar situation, kind of overlooked, but Phillip Rivers from the Chargers, he's got a healthy Keenan Allen back this year. Travis Benjamin signed in the offseason. I love that acquisition. Antonio Gates and Hunter Henry, all those weapons returning. Plus, I've heard some good things about Melvin Gordon. I think he's going to be catching a little bit out of the backfield this year. I really like the build of this Chargers team.
I mean, you really gotta like some of the weapons that he has over there. Like you said, he has Allen, he has Travis Benjamin, he has I think Stevie Johnson just got injured, but he also has Antonio Gates, he has Hunter Henry, Danny Woodhead you didn't even mention.
No, that's right. Melvin, that was one that I took a blank on, but yeah, Danny Woodhead.
Melvin Gordon. But the one thing that does concern me a little bit is the return of Wisenhunt. Maybe maybe Carson Palmer doesn't throw as many passes under him. Because he was there, I think, was it 2013 or 2014, one of those 2 years, and I think he threw for like 540 times or something like that, opposed to throwing it like over 600 times this past year. So maybe his volume does come down a little bit. I think that's one reason why I tilted towards Eli over Rivers.
I like the weapons more in San Diego than I do in New York. Don't get me wrong, I do like what Eli Manning's got going on in New York. I think that Eli Manning will get production out of his tight end position because I hear that Will Tye and Larry Donald are in a fierce battle for the starting tight end reps right now.
I like Tye myself, to be honest.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are saying Donald is going to get his job back. I think that if he stays healthy, I think that it's Donald's job.
Well, the one thing that Donnell has working for him is he's a lot taller. I won't say he's a lot taller, but he's a taller guy. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5", and you can use him in the red zone.
That is true. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I like the build of this Chargers team a little more just because of the weapons. I think that Hunter Henry is going to actually surprise a lot of people this year. I think that he's going to have a decent season behind Antonio Gates. Not like a breakout year, but he's going to see production. See,
I think that he's still a year away, man. I think he's going to put up some similar numbers to what like Darius Green was doing behind him. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. I don't mean like a breakout year by any means. I'm meaning like he's going to show us some good flashes this year that he can be the guy going forward. And I think that's good too because if Antonio Gates needs a breather, you just throw in Hunter Henry, and I think that he's a good matchup.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what. I watched him in college, and he looked real good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I like what I've seen.
All right. So now we're going to go into our the Barry Sanders Award, top running back. My dark horse is the guy that I think is actually going to be the number one running back. I'm picking Lamar Miller to be number one overall at running back. The reasons why I'm saying this is because he was in Miami and he was getting like 210 carries a year, but he was still a top 10 running back with the minimal work that he was getting. Now that he's going to Houston, he should get a bigger workload, and if he can keep on that same yards per carry and also sprinkling in like those 40, 50 catches he'll probably get, I think that that might do it to be number one.
That's a very good point. My dark horse this year is Shady McCoy. I don't think that a lot of people are like, I guess he's off the radar of like, a top running back thing, but I do think he's going to have a productive season this year, especially because Carlos Williams probably won't get as much work. He's out of favor with the team suspension. He's also overweight, out of shape, so I think that... You think
they're just gonna really lean on him this year?
I think so. I think that we're going to see some good numbers from Shady McCoy. Like I said, it's a dark horse.
Well, you know what? Buffalo is one of the most run-heavy teams, so that wouldn't totally surprise me, I suppose. So that was your dark horse. Who do you think is going to actually be the number one running back?
Well, I know that everybody here knows that I'm very happy to just, tote David Johnson around everywhere I go and be like, I think he's going to be it. But I'm hearing some concerns that he might not actually be. He's still going to get the bulk of the carries, obviously, but I hear that Chris Johnson might get some work too, so that kind of turns me off him just a little bit, and I'm going to say that it's going to be Todd Gurley this year.
You're going to roll with Gurley. That actually surprised me when you told me that offline. I was like, wow, really?
Yeah, I know. You know what?
Because I know how big you are on David Johnson, so...
Yeah, I do think that David Johnson's going to have a very productive year, but I'm going to say Todd Gurley because that's my safe answer, and I think that, this year, I think that we're going to see an improved Rams team. I think that he's going to... I think that they're going to stack the box, but I think that he can accommodate to that. I think that Todd Gurley is going to have a very productive year this year.
All right. So, who's your... You already named your dark horse at McCoy. All right. So we're going to move on to the top ball snatcher of the year, the top wide receiver. Who did you pick to win it? Who did you pick to be the top receiver this year?
Well, I took the easy way out on this one because it's pretty much who everybody's expecting, and it's Antonio Brown. I mean, guy was an absolute monster last year. I think that he's going to build on it. I don't even think it's out of the realm of possibility that he gets 2,000 yards receiving this year.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's what their goal was, actually. So,
I mean, you got to think, too, he missed a little bit of time. It possibly could have happened last year if, say, Big Ben didn't miss time. And then I know he got a concussion late in the season, too.
Okay, so you picked Antonio Brown. I feel like that was a pretty easy pick for you. Now try to go for like a more like a dark horse.
Well, my dark horse this year for receiving, and this is a very, very dark horse, but I'm gonna go ahead and say Larry Fitzgerald.
Wow, out of nowhere.
Yeah, or I was actually debating about this, but I think that he's going to get a little uptick in volume. I've been liking what I'm seeing about that. I think that he has the safest floor out of that Arizona receiving core. My other choice was Keenan Allen too. I think that Keenan Allen might be a guy that people are underestimating a lot. I
do like Keenan Allen in a PPR setting. The only issue I have with him is he's never really been that touchdown guy.
He's a reception. He relies on possession receivers.
I mean, he was on pace for like almost close to 180 targets last year. So
yeah, he'll definitely get the volume for sure. I think that Larry Fitzgerald, I know he's old, but I think that he's going to have a very safe floor next year. Like I said, this is an extreme dark horse. So don't everybody that's commenting, fit downers, don't jump on my throat. I'm just giving you a really, really, really dark horse pick here.
Another thing about Keenan Allen and his touchdown production is when they go to the red zone, I think they're probably going to look towards Antonio Gates because he's only 8 touchdowns away from setting the record for most touchdowns for tight ends. I think they're going to try and work him in there.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens too. I think that he does. It's just so hard for me. I want to say Keenan Allen, and I want to say Larry Fitzgerald, but I can't pick one out of the two of them. I'm going to say those are my dark horse picks. They might not be the top wide receiver, but I do think that people are underestimating them a little bit this year.
All right. So my picks for top receiver, I'm going a little bit against the grain here. I'm not choosing Antonio Brown. I'm choosing Odell Beckham. Not that I think that Antonio Brown is going to have a bad season. I just think that Beckham's going to have a better season. I think that Beckham will get more touchdowns than him. They'll probably both be right around the same receptions, I think. But I think that Beckham will have more touchdowns when it's all said and done.
Bold prediction there. I mean, He is a diva.
And my dark horse, it's not really that big of a dark horse, but you wouldn't really consider him when you're thinking of who's going to finish number one. I picked Allen Robinson. I've been watching some film on him lately in the training camp, and he looks like he's really quick. He looks like he's running some really good routes. He was already aggressive towards the ball, but he's even more aggressive to the ball, and I think he's trying to take that next step up.
You know who I actually forgot about him, and I'm sorry that it seems like I'm wasting time here, but my other dark horse that I couldn't think of at the time, and I just remembered, is probably my biggest dark horse. I think that T.Y. Hilton is going to have a great year this year. I think that he's going to be absolutely resurgent with Andrew Luck returning. I think that's my real dark horse pick.
Luck has the arm to get him the ball where he wants to get it, so
I think so too. Now, going back to what you were saying about Odell Beckham, does it scare you that he has to face Josh Norman twice a year?
No, actually, I'm really excited about that. Because, when they played each other, it seemed like Norman was getting the better of him, but Beckham still got his with a couple of nice receptions, so I'm not...
That's probably the only thing that shies me away from Beckham this year is that he has to face Josh Norman, and we all know how he just freaked out. He lost his goddamn mind last year playing Norman, so I think Norman has a way of getting in his head.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be definitely really fun to watch, so I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope there's another suspension coming up, this time for Norman.
All right, so we took care of that. Now, we didn't really have a name for this next one. All we're just going to call it the Top Tight End Award. I'm taking the easy way out. I'm going to say Gronk's going to be the number one tight end. But I also have, because you know his resume. But the other guy I think could finish number one, say if maybe like Gronk struggles those first 4 weeks with Grab-a-Ho throwing him a ball. I think maybe a guy like Greg Olsen could take that spot if like say like Reed doesn't play a full season because he tends to not do that. So that's why I have Greg Olsen as my dark horse.
Very, very good. And the guy that you just mentioned is my pick for top tight end this year. I'm going to go a little bit against the grain here. I know that Gronk's an easy pick, so I'm going to take the hard road here. Jordan Reed is a guy. I love his touchdown upside. I love his size mismatch. He just has a knack for finding the end zone. I think he's going to be as many tight ends are, he's going to be a touchdown-dependent tight end.
You know what? He actually had more receptions than Gronk last year.
Yeah, I think so too, but I'm still saying, I'm not saying he's completely touchdown-dependent, but I think that a lot of his fantasy value is going to rest on touchdowns like a lot of tight ends do. I do like, too, he's showing that Kirk Cousins is it's Kirk Cousins' favorite target, pretty much, I think. He's the first guy he looks towards.
All right. So is that your only pick for tight end?
I do have a dark horse. This is more of a heavy sleeper. But you know what? All right. So my dark horse pick this year is a guy that I don't think that people are overlooking, so to speak. But I don't think that they think that he's going to finish the top tight end. I'm going to say my guy is Travis Kelce. I think that he's going to have a good productive year. I think Alex Smith showed us last year that he was airing it out a little bit towards the end of last year. And I think
mostly to Macklin.
Yeah, mostly to Macklin. But I think that I like Travis Kelce. He's got the size. Let's not forget he had an awesome start to last season. He kind of faded away out of the game plan, but I think he's going to be leaned upon this year, I guess, so to speak. He's going to be a nice dump off option for Alex Smith. He's pretty good at yards after the catch.
That's one thing that they really liked about him coming out of college is his ability to run after the catch. So
that's what I like about him the most.
I mean, he showed some flashes of it last year.
I mean, he had 5 touchdowns this year. I definitely think that's going to go up next year. I think that he's a guy that we could definitely see 8 touchdowns out of.
See, I don't know if it can go up, to be honest. That's not a very heavy passing offense. Macklin gets most of it, and then Kelce gets what Macklin doesn't get, pretty much. But one thing I do like about him is he's going at a much better value this year so far. He's going towards the back end of the 6th round, so that's, I guess you could say, a nice little bargain, right?
I could get behind that, definitely.
Yeah. All right, so we covered up our tight ends. Next, what we're going to do is Blue Falcon of the Year. For you, people that are not in the military, being a Blue Falcon is not a good thing. Blue Falcon, buddy fucker. You don't want your players fucking you. So, Blue Falcon of the Year is the bust of the year. We're going to have one for each position. Sound good?
Alright, let's do it.
Alright, go ahead. You can start it off at quarterback.
Alright, now, I already know, disclaimer, I'm going to get some hate mail for this one, because everybody's riding his dick right now. But, I'm going to say Cam Newton. I don't necessarily think he's going to have a bad year next year, but I do think that where he's getting drafted at is not a good value at all. Cam Newton, I think, is going to see some regression next year, especially in the touchdown department. I just, his numbers last year were not sustainable, so if you're expecting that, drafting him where you're drafting him right now, I don't like it. He's my Blue Falcon of the year from where you have to draft him.
Yes, your hate for Cam Newton is real. It's well documented, and now it's official.
Well, hold on here. I think that you're being a little unfair on me because I think you have a lot of Cam Newton hate as well. So
I don't hate him necessarily. I do think he'll be a top 5 quarterback. I just don't. I would never draft him where he's being drafted at right now.
That's my whole point. I don't think he's gonna have a bad year by any means next year. I just think that where he's going is why I'm calling him the Blue Falcon, because you're not going to get the value you're expecting out of him.
I mean, he's actually according to Fantasy Football Calculator, he's going a pick behind Aaron Rodgers right now. His stock has been falling. Maybe our word's getting out there or something, but
I don't know. I just for me, I'm just not comfortable drafting him that high. I'm not really comfortable drafting a quarterback that high to begin with. I think the only one that I would be comfortable drafting that high would be a guy like Aaron Rodgers or Andrew Luck.
I mean, he does have like a really nice floor because of his rushing ability, and he does rush for quite a bit of rushing touchdowns. I think that's what kind of inflates his fantasy points a little bit, and I think that's why he's so sought after.
I think so too. I think that's good. He's good in the PPR setting. But yeah, you're right. He does redeem himself with the rushing. I still think though, where you have to get him, he's gonna end up buddy fucking your team because he's just not gonna. If you think he's gonna get last year's numbers, you're wrong. I think.
My Blue Falcon of the Year for quarterback is a guy that he's not gonna fuck you because of where you're taking him. He's just gonna fuck you because he's not on a very good team. Blake Bortles. I think we're going to see some regression in that offense. I know everyone's been saying the same thing. Yeah, they're going to have a lot of regression. But I just think that he's not going to get a lot of those red zone touchdowns that he got last year. I would honestly be surprised if he hit that 30 touchdown mark.
Yeah, I would be very surprised. I have to really agree with you on this one, Johnny. And I think that I probably would have taken him if we were talking about this before the show, and I think that Blake Bortles is my pick before I heard you were taking him, so I had to pick somebody else. But yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that his numbers last year were unsustainable.
He looked pretty shitty in training camp too.
Yeah, training camp's not going well for him. He threw 4 picks in practice. He's completed less than 60% of his passes.
But the coaches are happy with it.
Yeah, and I think that last year was. I'm not going to say it's a fluke. I do think he'll have a good career in the long run.
He led the league in interceptions last year.
That is very true. But my other point is, and even before he went and got a shit ton of touchdowns, he was already being reviewed as like erratic, and he hits people, he doesn't hit people. He's so far in his NFL career, I think his career completion percentage, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's below 60 in a career. So he's very erratic with his passes. I think last year it was more his receivers and playing his value than anything.
That's one thing he has going for him, though. He has some nice weapons.
Definitely has some nice weapons. He's got a guy like Chris Ivory in his backfield too, so that's always nice.
Hopefully the run game can help him out a little bit.
Yeah, but I do agree with you, Johnny. That's a great point you're making. Blake Bortles, I do think that we're going to see some regression next year. I think that he's getting taken. A little bit too high. I'd still take like a later round.
He's going before guys like Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Derek Carr.
Yeah, and I'd rather have Derek Carr than all 3 of those guys.
See, if you look at Blake Bortles, if you look at his rookie season, and then you look at like what he did last year, I think he's going to find some happy medium in between the two.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see. I think we're going to see both interceptions and touchdowns go down for him next year. I think he's going to throw a little bit less interceptions, but I think that his touchdowns due for some regression. I think that his yards also goes down a little bit. I think that we're just because I think that Allen Robinson's touchdowns are going to go down as well. So, I think that Jacksonville's offense last year was great, but it's just unsustainable numbers.
It really, you say it's great, but it really wasn't that great if you look at the big picture. They didn't really average that many points per game. It was middle of the pack.
Yeah,
and a lot of it was garbage time.
Yeah, no, that was another point I was just going to bring up. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, Jacksonville actually ranked last in the NFL in first quarter points. So they always got off to a really late start. They were always playing from behind, and Blake Bortles was pretty much just kind of airing it out,
Just chucking the fuck out of the ball.
Exactly, yeah. So that's the thing, though. They and the coach acknowledged it too. He said that they have to get better at getting off to a fast start, and that was the thing. They were playing from behind a lot of the time last year, so I think that's why a lot of that garbage time production did happen.
All right, so that was a nice little conversation about BB there.
BB.
All right, so I'll just move right along to my Blue Falcon of the Year for running backs. I'm gonna stay away from some of these higher draft pick running backs because I don't want to break anyone's heart. And I'm going to go with a guy that I think fell into a pretty shitty spot is DeMarco Murray. I just think that offensive line isn't really that good, and he's going to struggle to find some holes. And I know they're going to try to do their best. They're going to try to run under center for him, but I just don't think they have the tools and the weapons over there to have DeMarco Murray have a lot of success.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Johnny. I think that the biggest concern I have with that Tennessee backfield, I think it's going to be a mess. I think it's going to be more of a 50-50 split than people are thinking. Because we really don't know who's going to get the starter reps, but I think that we're going to see a little bit of half and half with Derrick Henry. I've also heard rave reviews about Derrick Henry in training camp, saying he's been great catching the ball out of the backfield. So I'm hearing some nice things about Derrick Henry.
They've both been catching the ball pretty well in the backfield.
Yeah, I do think, though, I think that's going to be more of a 50-50 split than DeMarco Murray getting the lion's share of the carries. So, I agree with you. Yeah, he kind of fell into a shitty situation there. And this is, you got to remember, this is a very bad Tennessee team. They're playing from behind a lot.
It might just phase them out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. The run game might get phased out in the second half of the ball game most of the year.
I agree. I thought a lot about. I was having trouble picking like a running back because I was like, man, there's a lot of running backs out there that I don't like.
Yeah.
But I think I dislike him the most, so I picked him.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think I probably would have picked him too if you didn't pick him. So I'm going to go and go right into mine. And I picked a guy, and I think I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one too. So bring it on, Fit Downer. I like being public enemy number one. But my guy is Devonta Freeman. I think that we're going to see some regression for him. Had an absolute tear the first half of last year. His back half was not good at all. I think he only broke 100 yards, twice in the second half of the season last year?
I think once.
Yeah, you're right, once. Yeah, and also I think he's due for some regression too, because Tevin Coleman, I'm not hearing a lot of great things out of training camp. They drafted him for a reason. He was set to start last year before he got injured. He's injured currently. I don't know what the status of that's going to be, but I do think, though,
not to burst your bubble or anything, but I heard that Tevin Coleman might be working on some special teams a little bit, so that might take away some of his workload.
That is true. But I've looked into it, and I think that Devonta Freeman's undersized. He's got a lot of elusiveness and all those other qualities. I just think that he's due for a lot of regression next year. Is he going to finish as a running back one? I think he finished just slightly outside, or definitely in the bottom half of running back ones.
Because
I think that the biggest reason why I think he's going to be your Blue Falcon is the same reason I picked Cam Newton, because of where you're having to draft him. I know his ADP is falling a little bit, but I still think, though, that he's taking a little high for my liking.
He once, at one point, was a first-round pick. It looks like he's slipping towards the back end of the second.
For me, there's so many running backs I like more than him that I think the only way I would be comfortable drafting him is if I get him in the third round.
He's currently being the eighth running back taken off the board. He's going in front of guys like Mark Ingram, LaShawn McCoy, Eddie Lacy, Doug Martin.
See, and I would rather have all those guys you just named before I would have Devonta Freeman on my team.
And one thing that Devonta Freeman does have working for him is I think he does have a safe floor because of his receptions. So if you're in a PPR setting, I think he's still okay to draft if you absolutely need to. But like you said, in that second round, there's a lot of receivers that I like in that second round.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm not comfortable with too. But yeah, you're right. He does keep a lot of his value because of his in a PPR league. He retains a lot of that value. But if you're in a standard league, I'm just kind of staying away from him. Like, there's a lot of guys you just mentioned that I would rather have than Devonta Freeman.
Oh, I can continue if you want. I'm going to start naming off all the receivers that go out in the second round. Okay?
Yeah, I'm all for it.
All right. You got Brandon Marshall, Jordy Nelson, Keenan Allen, Alshon Jeffrey, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks. Would you pick Devonta Freeman over any of those wide receivers?
Absolutely not.
That's my point. There's just so many good receivers in that second round. Like, I just could never see myself taking Freeman.
So that was my main point behind that. I don't think that he'll necessarily have like a horrible year next year. That's not what I mean at all by this bust thing. I'm clearly talking from a value standpoint. He's not gonna get the production you want from. I think that people that are going around the same time he is are gonna produce way better than he is next year.
All right, so we're going to go on to our Blue Falcon of the Year for wide receiver. Who did you end up coming up with for wide receiver?
All right, so hopefully I don't get too much hate for this one. I don't think I will. But maybe a surprise to a lot of you guys, Brandon Marshall. I think that Fitzmagic is going to have a little bit of regression next year. I think that Brandon Marshall's touchdowns are going to go down. I think his yards are going to stay about the same, but I think those touchdowns come down a little bit.
See, I used to be a Brandon Marshall hater until they got Fitzpatrick back. I think that salvages some of his value. Although I do have to agree with you, I don't think that Fitzpatrick is going to have the same kind of season he had last year. He seems like he just makes a lot of bad decisions, but his receivers just make him look good.
Yeah, I think that he's the same way that we were just talking about Blake Bortles. He's pretty erratic with his passes. It was like our good friend Shane Harris once said. He's not afraid to throw in a double, triple coverage, which we know that can go really bad for you, or good, depending. But I don't like it. I think that Fitzpatrick's regression is going to be the main reason. I don't think he's going to be an absolute, like he's going to totally buddy fuck your team, but I do think that, like I said, if you're expecting what you got last year, I think you're going to be a little bit disappointed. I think those touchdowns are going to go down. I think his yards are going to stay about the same, maybe a little bit of regression on the yards, but I think he's going to have no problem going over 1,000 yards. I think he'll get probably about, I think safe floor is going to be like 5 touchdowns next year.
All right, so my receiver that I'm picking, I might get a little bit of hate for this one too, even from you. I'm picking Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh, okay.
And here's why. It's not that I think he's going to be terrible or anything, but I think that he might. They want to. They just gave him a 1-year extension, but I think that Michael Floyd's going to take over that receiving core, and they really like John Brown as a speedster. I just think that eventually he's just not going to get as many targets as he did last year.
That's fair. I like your criticism on the whole third layer.
I mean, they got so many weapons over there that I feel like somebody is going to get left out.
Yeah, I do too. And you know what? I know that we're both pretty high on Michael Floyd this year, but I do think though, the way I'm looking at it is Michael Floyd is injury prone, as we've seen in years past. John Brown's kind of a mixed bag. I don't really know what I'm going to see with him.
John Brown's actually probably the most consistent out of all 3 of those guys, to be honest.
Definitely. Well, he did have some drop problems last year. And also, J.J. Nelson, you got to think about him too. I know he's kind of a dark horse in that Arizona offense, but I still think though that out of all those receivers, Larry Fitzgerald has a pretty safe floor.
If you look at the back end of last year, Fitzgerald actually really started to fall off, and Michael Floyd really started to take over. It wasn't until that playoff game where Fitzgerald just went nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what kind of tells me a little differently. Like, you never count him out of the game plan. Like, Larry Fitzgerald is still, even with his advanced age, he's still a force to be reckoned with. But I do see what you're saying. I can take that criticism.
Do you think Larry Fitzgerald could do something kind of like what Steve Smith and Hines Ward did, like these ageless wonders?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. We don't know how many more years Larry Fitzgerald has left. My money's on he's probably going to play out the rest of his contract, and then he's going to retire. I think he's got like 2 more seasons. Yeah,
like I said, they just extended him for 1 more year too. So
I mean, we're talking about a receiver who's put up Hall of Fame numbers like already.
All right. So do you have a bust for tight end?
I do, and I'm actually really excited about this one because I might get a little hate for this one, but I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of Titan fans out there. I'm going to say Delaney Walker. I think that he's going to see a sharp decline. I don't think that necessarily he's going to be horrible next year. I think that you're still going to get a good amount of production out of him. I do think his touchdowns and yards both go down next year because we're talking about a guy like Marcus Mariota who makes plays happen by himself on his feet. He's got some talented but raw receivers out there, like Kendall Wright, Terrell Beckham. He's also got 2 running backs that are catching passes out of the backfield. I think that it's just going to I think if Mariota's going to dump it off, there's also that option of dumping it off to a running back. So I think that, Delaney Walker is going to see a little bit of a decline because of all those elements.
I'm going to make a tight end bust that's going to be a little bit surprising. It's not going to be because of his poor play that he's a bust. It's going to be because of his health. My bust at tight end is going to be Jordan Reed. I could see him getting a concussion and just being out for the year.
That's very fair. You do have to know that if you're drafting Jordan Reed, that you're drafting a lot of risk with him, and that was probably one of the biggest issues I had with him.
And especially for where you have to get him, like it's a little risky in my opinion.
No, it is. You're assuming a lot of risk. He's a young tight end. You're assuming that risk. So if you make him a risky pick, you can probably not make any more risky picks. But
he's a guy that I could see playing like a few games this year. But he's also a guy I could see finishing number one at his position.
Yeah, he's a very mixed bag. You can either be the top tight end in the league, or he could be a complete injury-prone mess where he only plays 2 games next year. Very, very good point. Yeah, you're assuming a lot of risk. That was probably the biggest issue where I had to draft him in our dynasty draft. I was like, he's so talented, so young, but man, he just cannot stay healthy.
Yeah, so, that's why I'm throwing him under the bus right now. So
that's good. I mean, he has last year he played the most games he's ever played in a season, which was 14. So hopefully he can play at least that many. I mean, we saw what he could do in 14. I couldn't imagine.
To make a bold prediction, though, if he does stay healthy for a full 16-game season, I really do think he'll be the number one tight end. I just don't think he'll finish all 16 games. That's the thing.
That's what I meant when I picked him as my top tight end.
Yeah.
I think that he's the only real threat to Gronk as far as tight ends go.
All right, so let's get away from some of this negative talk that we've been having for all these busts, and we'll move into something a little bit more positive, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Do it.
All right, so comeback player of the year. Who do you have to make a comeback? Someone who didn't really play very well last year, or someone who just didn't play very much last year because of injury?
Well, I'm going to pick a guy that didn't play much because of injury last year. And he was a little bit erratic when he did play. Andrew Luck, he had a lackluster season last year. He missed a lot of time. When he did play, most of his fantasy points did come in garbage time. The seldom times he did play. But yeah, Andrew Luck to me, he's my comeback player of the year. He's my MVP. He's my top quarterback.
According to you, he's getting 3 awards.
Yeah, I think that Andrew Luck's going to have a great season next year. I think that there's a lot to like about him. He's got already a guy that I think is going to have a great season next year, which is T.Y. Hilton. I think he's going to be the best beneficiary of Luck's resurgence. And I think that there's a lot to like with Dante Moncrief and even Philip Dorsett.
He does have some weapons, man.
Yeah, and old ass beat to shit Frank Gore. But he's my guy. I can't really explain it. I can just tell you I got a feeling it's going to be Andrew Luck.
You gotta like the fact that they started to build up that offensive line around him.
Yeah,
and their defense is still Swiss cheese. I'll be polite and say it's a Swiss cheese. So you gotta think they're probably gonna chuck the hell out of the ball.
You damn commie. American cheese.
All right, my comeback player of the year is a guy who didn't play at all last year, but I think he's gonna come back and be just great. I'm going to pick Jordy Nelson. I think he's going to come back right into where he left off, and he's going to get you double-digit touchdowns, 1,200 yards. I think that it's going to really help out the entire offense, and he's just going to come back and be just great.
You know what? I love that pick by you, Johnny. That's a great pick. I couldn't agree with you more. I think Jordy Nelson's going to have a nice resurgent season next year. I think that
you got to love the white boy.
You got to love the white boy. He's good for white,
Yeah.
Don't call me a racist, I was just joking. But yeah, I think that he's Aaron Rodgers' top target. I think if he stays healthy for a full season, I think that we're going to see some awesome numbers.
All right. So, we're going to go back to a little bit of negativity now.
All right.
Injury player, we called it the Arian Foster Award. What's one guy that you're really concerned about that could be getting injured this year?
Well, I know I've mentioned him before. But as far as running backs go, I'm really just kind of worried about Jamal Charles. I would love to have him. He's obviously he's the yards per carry.
He's an elite talent.
Yeah, he's the yards per carry king. But he just can't seem to stay healthy for an entire season, like lately and in past. And he's also getting up there in age. I just, he concerns me a little bit. I think that if he can stay healthy for a season, there's no question that he's going to be a running back one. But if he doesn't, he can end up wasting a pick for you.
I really can't argue with that logic. Like, he is an older running back that's had some injuries, so you have every right to say that he is an injury risk this year.
And real quick, sorry to cut you off, but as an added concern of mine, it sounds like Spencer Ware's is going to maybe steal some goal line work from him. Maybe that's obviously a really bold prediction, but I've heard some good things about Spencer Ware. And,
it's just speculation right now.
Yeah,
but this is a guy that does have some injury issues, and he's right now, according to the football calculator, he is the 7th running back off the board in the mid-second round.
I think if he stays healthy for an entire year, though, that's great value for getting him there.
I know. When have you ever been able to draft Jamal Charles in the 2nd round?
Oh, I know. Yeah, and to think in some drafts he's fallen in the 3rd round. If he falls to the 3rd round, I'm definitely taking him. I'll assume that risk for a 3rd round pick.
All right, my Arian Foster Award is going to go for the 2nd consecutive year to Jonathan Stewart. I just don't like his injury history. I don't think he's ever played a full season. If he has, it's been a long time. He's a guy that they're really relying on. They don't really have much behind him, so he's going to be toting the rock a lot. The more times you tote that rock, the higher chance you are to get injured. So that's why he's going to be my Arian Foster Award recipient for the preseason.
Well, so with that, though, and I agree with you, yeah, Jonathan Stewart, you can't see him ever just stay healthy for an entire season. What does that do to Artis Payne's value?
That actually kind of leads right into our next award. I think Artis Payne is a guy that he could be drafted kind of later in the season, or later in the draft, because, he's not a guy that's going to really, he's strictly a handcuff. He has no standalone value whatsoever. He's the 60th running back off the board, late 13th round. But I think he's one of those guys that, you probably take a chance on him late in the draft, but then you're like, oh, well, he's not getting any carries, I'm just going to drop him. But then later on, Jonathan Stewart gets hurt, and then there he is. Got to pick him up off the waiver wire. Now he's one of the top waiver wire pickups, which is an award that we have here. I think Cameron Artis Payne is my top waiver pickup this year.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Before we go into that, though, I do want to bring up a bonus for injury-prone guys that we have, our Arian Foster Awards. But this is not a traditional Arian Foster Award. This is going to go to a guy that I just don't think he can stop getting suspended, and that's Josh Gordon. I think that he's going to get busted again, and then that's it. His career is done.
You think he's going to get busted during the season?
I don't know if it'll be during the season, but I think it's going to be very near future. But I'm going to go ahead and say, for prediction purposes, because these are just predictions and they might not happen. I'll say it. Yeah, next year. Hey, hell, if you get caught or do something stupid, get a DUI, he just can't stay out of trouble. He couldn't stay out of trouble in college, and he hasn't been able to stay out of trouble in the NFL. It's only a matter of time to me before he gets caught. I have no faith in him.
Well, for the sake of all our fantasy teams, let's hope that he's not hanging out with Le'Veon Bell.
Well, you know what? I really want to get him, Le'Veon Bell, Martavis Bryant, and Johnny Manziel, and I'm going to call my team up and smoke.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, so back to top waiver wire pickups. I have a couple guys, too, here that I really like off the waiver wire. A guy that I'm hearing rave reviews about in Pittsburgh, Sammy Coates. I'm hearing great things about him. Coaches are saying his speed is just elite, that he can be a real difference maker out there, and especially with the suspension of Martavis Bryant, I think we're looking at a guy that could really step up if he can get out Hayward Bay.
Yes. Do you think that he could take that number 2 job away from Wheaton?
You know what? I think he can because, I'm not really hearing super great things about Wheaton. Like I said, this is strictly speculation here, but I think that Sammy Coates is a good position to beat him out for that number 2 job.
Yeah, Wheaton's really nothing special in my opinion. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they just said, you know what, we're going to see what the young guy got. We're going to put him in there.
The only thing that is working in Wheaton's favor is that he's in a contract year this year, and it's a 90% chance he doesn't come back to Pittsburgh next year.
Yeah,
so
but
he wants to increase his value on the open market. He's got to have a good season. So maybe that, he's like, oh shit, got to wake up and play.
It just seems like he never had any chemistry with Big Ben.
Yeah, I can see that. That's why for me, Sammy Coates is one of my really dark horse waiver wire picks this year. Somebody you either want to target really, really late in drafts or just pick him up later off the waiver wire. Just drop a guy like some fuckface and just get him.
Yeah, what about another guy that you are starting to come around on, Cameron Brate?
Yeah, you said it before I even had a chance. Coach Cotter in Tampa Bay has been talking up Cameron Brate. He actually got pissed off at reporters the other day for asking about, is ASJ going to be in the plan? He's like, and he basically lashed out on him and said the best guy's going to play. And right now, the best player at the tight end position on that Tampa Bay team is Cameron Brate. So I think that with a budding quarterback like Jameis Winston, I think that he could really take off next year and really become that number one option. And then of course ASJ will just be another lost cause. He'll be another draft bust. Yeah,
I mean, it seems like ASJ's career is just kind of in a spiral right now, and it's not in the right direction.
Yeah, he's getting in trouble off the field. He's getting in stupid little Twitter rants, being a little bitch. And the other thing is too, he's not playing on the field. Like a guy like Cameron Brate, who his coach has clearly said has been out playing ASJ.
And he had 5 touchdowns or something like that last year.
Yeah, that's very true. That's another thing to bring up. And also, he's been getting a lot of red zone work in training camp. So I've been hearing great things about Cameron Brate. I'm just saying, he's a guy you want to target.
All right, so that pretty much wraps up our awards show that we did here. It was a nice fun little episode that we had.
Yeah, I really liked it. I love that. I love the discussion. I love the debate and the love and the hate. I love it.
All right, and we're definitely going to, after the season's over, we're definitely going to come back to this, and we're going to have end of the season award ceremony, and it's going to be good.
Yeah, and we're going to
we'll see how well we did.
Yeah, we'll see how well we did. Who got it right? Who got it wrong? Or who did okay?
All right. Is there any last words you want to say?
Hey, you know what? Fantasy footballers, if you got any, please send us a review. Please, please, please. That's how we get better. We also like people seeing that we're highly rated on iTunes. That is our preferred site for reviews. So if you just drop us a review, that would be great. We love hearing from you guys. We love what we're doing wrong too, so we can improve next time. So if you got a review, send it our way.
We don't care if it's negative. If you want to tell us, hey man, you guys really suck, then please let us know.
Just don't say fuck you, or if you don't like Drew Brees, fuck you.
So,
Anyways,
if you have any fantasy football questions, please ask us on Twitter at the Fifth Down FF. We'll answer all questions. Just hit us up, please.
Yeah, and another thing too. Remember, we got some yet to be announced sweepstake giveaways that are going to come down this season. So if you write us a review, you're automatically entered into the sweepstake competition, and we'll draw names. And maybe you'll get a surprise in the mail.
Yeah, tune in and listen up. All right, peace out, Fifth Downers.